I was invited to my ex-boyfriend's wedding, where he planned to show off his wealthy fiancé, but my plus one flipped the script in a spectacular way. I'm 22, female, and Ethan, 30, male, met while working part-time at a cafe. I was a university student saving to move out of my parents' home, while Ethan was struggling with student loan debt. His parents' gambling debts left him without financial support. We bonded over our family challenges, and over time, our connection grew into something joyful. 2 years after graduating, I had saved enough to live independently. Ethan, still burdened by loans, couldn't afford to leave his parents' house, so I invited him to move in with me. His debts limited his ability to contribute, so I offered to cover 80% of the rent, with him paying 20%. He agreed immediately. We split utility bills evenly, but his demanding construction job left him little energy for household tasks. My corporate job, with its flexible schedule, allowed me to work from home or the office as long as I met my targets. Ethan's long hours meant I handled cooking, cleaning, laundry, and dishes. I didn't mind much, knowing his job was tough, but I asked him to take out the trash since he was usually the last to eat. He repeatedly forgot, leaving me to handle it each morning. After a work trip, I returned to find our apartment in disarray. The kitchen was a mess, dirty dishes piled up, empty snack bags and wrappers scattered everywhere. Laundry had accumulated, and the trash hadn't been touched. Exhausted, I was furious. I wanted to relax, but the chaos made it impossible. I spent the entire day cleaning, hoping Ethan would notice my effort. When he came home, he greeted me warmly, saying he missed me, but didn't mention the tidied apartment. Instead, he settled in to watch TV, leaving me feeling unseen and resentful. Overwhelmed, I broke down crying, unsure if it was exhaustion or his lack of appreciation. I realized how little he valued me. When he asked if I was okay, I said I was just tired and went to bed, reminding him about the trash. He nodded, but the next morning it was still there. My frustration peaked when he casually asked me to make breakfast. I told him to cook for himself. He called me harsh, and I let out my pent-up anger, pointing out how little he contributed. He acted clueless, telling me not to overreact. When I asked why he couldn't even take out the trash, he admitted he forgot. I pressed him on what he actually brought to the relationship besides relaxing with a drink. He claimed his grueling job entitled him to rest. I agreed he deserved downtime, but what about my needs? I reminded him I cooked, cleaned, did laundry, and ironed his clothes after work, yet all I asked was for him to handle the trash. Ethan argued he never asked me to do those tasks and that his tough job meant I, as his girlfriend, should support him. He even said his mother did the same for his father, suggesting it was normal. His words enraged me. I realized I was letting him take advantage of me despite not being married. I told him I was done doing his chores. I wasn't his mother and we were equals. He needed to cook, clean, do laundry, iron, and take out his trash. I also demanded he pay 50% of the rent or move out. Ethan was shocked and tried to argue, but I stood firm, saying I was tired of feeling unappreciated. I left for work, feeling empowered for setting boundaries. I stuck to my resolve, only cleaning up after myself. It was satisfying watching Ethan struggle to find clean clothes or iron shirts. He left dishes and trash untouched, hoping I'd give in, but I didn't. I started eating takeout to avoid the messy kitchen. He tried guilt-tripping me, saying a good partner would care for him, but I held my ground. When rent was due, I paid 50% and told the landlord Ethan would cover the rest. He came home furious, demanding I pay 80% like before, but I reminded him he never valued my efforts. He made excuses, but eventually paid his share. He never apologized or acknowledged my perspective. Looking back, I wish I'd seen his true nature earlier. Our arguments worsened over the next few months, with him blaming me and trying to manipulate me into old habits. Things escalated when I got a promotion at work. A mutual friend, also a colleague, must have told Ethan, because that night sparked our worst fight. He came home drunk, waking me to talk. Annoyed and half asleep, I asked if it could wait, but he insisted. He slurred about meeting someone at work, Isabella, a 20-year-old I'd met at his office party. She was the daughter of a wealthy businessman, working only because her father required it. Ethan said he was falling for her because she was a real woman, unlike me. I felt nothing, no jealousy, no pain. Our relationship was already over. We were more like roommates. I calmly suggested we break up amicably and asked him to move out soon. Expecting me to be jealous, Ethan asked if I envied Isabella. I smiled, saying I was relieved he'd found someone, as it eased my guilt about ending things. He got angry, accusing me of flaunting my promotion. I clarified my career had nothing to do with it, we'd grown apart, and I understood why he sought someone else. Instead of relief, he ranted about hating modern women like me who prioritize careers. He praised Isabella for wanting marriage and kids, implying she was better. I countered that every woman has different goals, and Isabella's wealth meant she didn't need to focus on a career like I did. I urged him to be with her and move out. He mocked my ability to afford rent alone, but I revealed my raise made it possible. Furious, he claimed Isabella was richer, owning a house her father bought. He sneered that men prefer housewives, not women who out-earn them. Exhausted by his tirade, I told him to sleep on the couch and move out by month's end. He grumbled but complied. Over the next week, he packed and left. On his last night, I came home to find him and Isabella on our couch. He said he wanted to show her his place. I was appalled at his audacity, but stayed polite to Isabella, who gave me a cold, dismissive glance. While cooking dinner, I felt her silently watching me, making me uncomfortable. I asked if she needed something, but she just stared scornfully and left. Later, as I headed downstairs, I overheard them talking. Isabella said Ethan was lucky to upgrade from someone like me. He laughed, agreeing, and when she asked why he dated me, he admitted he used me because I was naive enough to pay for dates and most of the rent, saving him money. His words shattered me. I'd suspected he took advantage of me, but hearing he'd manipulated me from the start was devastating. They mocked me further, and I retreated upstairs, crying silently, determined not to let them see my pain. The next morning, they were gone. Ethan had moved out completely. I felt immense freedom. I danced around the apartment, thrilled to be rid of him. I cleaned the place thoroughly, erasing every trace of him. Weeks later, I was thriving alone when our mutual friend told me Ethan and Isabella were getting married. Seeing their engagement photos, I felt a pang of sadness for how Ethan used me, but I was glad he'd moved on. That night, I found their wedding invitation in my mailbox with a note from Ethan. "Come see the luxurious life I'll have with Isabella." His nerve reignited my anger. He'd invited me to gloat about his wealthy fiancé. Determined to retaliate, I RSVP'd with a +1, plotting my comeback. I researched Isabella's social media and learned she'd recently split with her ex, Jacob, after a long high school romance. I contacted Jacob, sharing my plan to bring him as my +1. He was intrigued and agreed after I told him my story and learned Isabella had cheated on him with Ethan during their rough patch. Jacob revealed Isabella's history of infidelity and her attraction to older men like Ethan. He still loved her despite their messy breakup. I shared how Ethan used me, and we connected over our shared pain. On the wedding day, Ethan's expression darkened when he saw Jacob with me. He whispered angrily, asking why I brought Isabella's ex, but I just smiled. When Isabella walked down the aisle, stunning in her gown, she hadn't noticed us. At the reception, she froze when she saw Jacob. Furious, she asked if we were dating. Jacob stayed quiet, and I explained I'd invited him to support her marriage. She demanded to speak with him privately, glaring at me. They stepped out, and Ethan watched nervously but couldn't intervene. An hour later, Isabella was still absent. Guests whispered, and her father sent a bridesmaid to check. The bridesmaid returned with a note announcing Isabella had left with Jacob, admitting she still loved him and regretted marrying Ethan. The room went quiet. Ethan stood humiliated as guests absorbed the shock. I was stunned. My plan was to unsettle Ethan, not ruin his wedding. Isabella's parents apologized and asked everyone to leave. Ethan's attempt to humiliate me had backfired dramatically. I felt a mix of guilt and satisfaction seeing his downfall. Since sharing my story, reactions have been mixed. Some support my retaliation, while others think I went too far. To clarify, I never intended to break up the wedding. I don't know what Jacob and Isabella discussed privately. I only wanted Ethan to regret inviting me to flaunt his new life. Jacob later texted, thanking me for bringing him to the wedding. He and Isabella went on the honeymoon meant for Ethan. They spoke to her parents, who were initially concerned but now supportive. Jacob promised to meet me soon to explain everything. Meanwhile, Ethan bombarded me with calls and angry texts, blaming me for ruining his marriage. I ignored him. He showed up at my door, yelling that I destroyed his life. He'd quit his job, expecting Isabella's wealth to support him. I cracked the door open, refusing him entry, and revealed I'd overheard him and Isabella mocking me. I told him I'd loved him, but he disrespected me. I didn't care about his affair, but his cruel invitation was too much. I said Isabella chose to leave, and he should blame her. Ethan claimed I was naive for not seeing his manipulation and shouldn't punish him for it. He admitted he'd worked hard to charm Isabella for her money, and I'd ruined it. Disgusted, I told him to leave or I'd call the police. He backed off when I dialed, and I blocked him everywhere. I'm changing my locks and installing a doorbell camera to document any future incidents. A month later, I met Jacob for lunch. To my surprise, Isabella was there, greeting me warmly. She apologized for her past behavior, explaining Ethan manipulated her by bad-mouthing me and flattering her. During a rough patch with Jacob, she cheated with Ethan, who convinced her to leave Jacob, promising a perfect life. Seeing me, she felt insecure about my independence. At the wedding, seeing Jacob rekindled her love for him. They talked, realized their mutual feelings, and ran away together. They're now happy and planning to annul her marriage to Ethan. Her parents, initially upset, now support them. I shared my journey to independence, and we parted on good terms. I'm focusing on my career and steering clear of their drama, hoping Ethan learns not to chase wealth in relationships.